Hey guys, I'm Kai from Lucas Landon Royals. Hope you're doing well, and I have a jam-packed video for you today. First, I'm gonna show you some breeding behavior, and then I have a question session. We'll take a look at some more animals, and lastly, I'm gonna give you a sneak peek at what's gonna be my koi pond now that all the concrete has been poured. So let's get started. So we'll begin with some locks that I've seen this morning. You guys know I like to take advantage of the weather. Whenever the weather changes, especially if it's a storm, that's when I put the males with the females. Really entices them and gets them going and breeding and locking. So that's what I did. I saw some locks this morning. Hopefully they're still locked, so let's go and take a look. All right, check this out. Is this awesome or what? That's a coral glow pied male, also the possible het for hypo, locked up with a Enchi pied female, also possible het for hypo. So we'll see how this one turns out, but that is so awesome. And I know the tubs are a little bit busy because, well, you know, I didn't want to disturb the female and clean her tub and, you know, have her feel like she's in a new place when the male gets introduced. So I left everything as is, put the male in, and then when they're all done, I'll have the opportunity to clean them out. So let's go ahead and check out that Enchi pied female's sister, because she's locked up with a male as well. All right, let's take a look at this one. Hopefully they're still locked. They were earlier when I checked. And that is a Firefly male, 100% het for pied. Yeah, where are their tails? Looks like they have unhooked, but they were definitely locked earlier, and I marked that down, so they're good to go. And he is a really good breeder, produces some spectacular offsprings, and she's a first-time mom, a little bit brighter than her sister. Also same genetics, Enchi pied, possible het for hypo. How can I forget about this pair? This is my albino pied maker pair. So I have a pied female, 100% het for albino, and a pied male, 100% het for albino. And look at that. Super awesome. Can't wait for some more double visuals. I believe this female right here was the one that gave me 2 double visuals last season with the same male, so hoping to get the same or better results this season. Now I know I'm biased, but I think there's some beautiful animals, and there's actually some other locks going on, but man, I can't show you everything. I was just teasing, but just to make up for that, I'll show you a couple of ovulations. Check this out, guys. This is really, really cool. This is an ovulation right here. Now, previously she was on the cool side, and they do that when they develop follicles, but then she went to the warm side, and I thought I had missed her ovulation, and I thought she was just, you know, keeping her eggs nice and warm so that they could develop. But now this is a clear ovulation. Look how big she is. And they always do this where they bend their tail at a really strong degree right here. I don't know why they do that. Maybe it's just to keep their eggs in, but it starts right there, or I should say it ends right there, and it starts right here. You can see how big it is, how wide it is, and then it just tapers off right there. So starts here, ends over there, and you can see the separation of scales. You can see the white in between each of those scales. Only where it's light colored you can see the white. Obviously the area that is black or dark, the skin between the scales is also dark, so you're not going to see as much of it. It's not going to be as evident or clear, but you can see that it is really wide all along this part of her body, and that is a very, very clear ovulation. This is a pastel GHI 100% het for albino, and she was paired to a Candina. So I'm hoping to make a GHI Candina with or without the pastel. as usual, down here looking at all the snakes, and you cannot miss that. That is a huge ovulation. I can see it from out here. And bam, look at that massive ovulation. And you have to excuse the tub for being a little bit dirty. I like to leave them like that until their prelay shed. If it's not too dirty, I just keep them the way they are. After the prelay shed, because I have to wet everything down, I do change out everything, give them a clean tub. That way, you know, they can be in there for a month nice and clean for that month until they lay their eggs. But yeah, I just wanted to share this big ovulation right there. Man, that's big. And I think it's gonna get even bigger tonight. So maybe I'll catch a few more pictures. It's question session time, and these are comments that came in on some of my DIY build videos. They are regarding the heating setup. First one comes from Juan Torres, and he says, "Hi, I was wondering, since I'm going to do the same build, if I can use one long strip of heat tape like the sea serpent racks and cut a notch at the end of the shelves and just slide them in and out of each level and have one thermostat and one plug for the whole piece. What do you think about this?" The short answer is yes. In fact, other people have made comments on this exact same topic with similar ideas, one of which is Danny Crawford, and he says, "Excellent video, quality rack too. I might have routed some clearance on the sides of the back end of each shelf. That way a single run of heat tape could be used, snaked around each shelf and one plug. Thanks for sharing your build." And there's a lot of other people who had similar ideas, like I said. So yes, you can use one strand or one strip of heat tape and just snake it around and have that running on each level. A couple things to keep in mind when using one big long strand of heat tape is make sure your temperature controller can handle the energy required to power or heat up that heat tape. And number two, you will see a temperature variance, maybe 1 or 2 degrees, depending on how tall your rack is. So at the very top, it'll be warmer. At the very bottom, closer to the floor, it will be cooler. 3 things that you can do to help with the temperature variance is number 1, put the probe in the middle level. Number 2, have a fan to circulate the air in the room. And number 3, the source of the power to the heat tape should be attached at the very bottom level. Reason being, the end of the heat tape closest to the source will be warmer and get warmer faster than the opposite end. I didn't make that up, it's science. Now, if you have more than one temperature controller like I do, I split up the rack so every 2 to 3 levels is controlled by one controller. All right, moving on to the next question, and this one is by Kristen Hoffman, and she says, "Most of all videos I've seen of rack builds imply that the heat tape has to have a routed space rather than using foil tape to protect it. Since I don't have a router, I want to go this route, but wasn't sure if it would be the safe option. Have you had any problems with the heat tape not being recessed? Why did you choose not to?" She had 2 questions in there, and I'll answer both of them. I haven't had any problems with the heat tape not being recessed. In fact, I made an update video on how my racks are holding up since their initial construction, and I'll give you another look at them now. So we'll take a look at one of the open slots in the rack, and you can see that the heat tape is holding up really well. In fact, it looks almost new, like the day it was installed. No scratches on it at all. And you can see that the only wear and tear is actually on the foil tape. So as the tub slides in and out, it removes a little bit due to friction, a little bit of the foil tape material, and then it just deposits it onto the PVC. But that has nothing to do with the heat tape. The heat tape is kind of recessed because the foil tape actually sits on top, on this side, and on this side. So when the tub slides in, it's sliding on top of the foil tape, and then it's kind of in the air, and then when it gets to this side, it slides on top of the foil tape itself again. So the only wear and tear is on the foil tape. With everything, there's some wear and tear, and in this case, this is very minimal. The foil tape can be replaced and the heat tape hasn't been impacted. And now to answer her second question, which is why did I choose not to route that recessed space in the first place? Well, to be honest with you, number 1, I was lazy, and number 2, something was missing. I think I might have had the router, and if I did, I didn't have the proper bit, and I definitely didn't have a jig in place to make clean lines. So I just moved forward with the build without that recessed space, and it's been working fine ever since. I hope my answers have been helpful, and I'll do one last question for this video, and this one comes from George Baker, and he says, Where do you install the thermostat probe? People say tape it on the bottom of the tank and then install the heat mat over it. Then people say install it in the bottom of the tank above the heat mat. Well, there's different ways of doing it and they can all work. The way I prefer is to tape the heat probe directly on the heat mat or the heat tape. And then I set the temperature controller to about 90 degrees. Keep in mind, at this point, you're not gonna get a perfect 90 degrees temperature inside the tub just yet. Let the heating elements warm up the tub, come back in about an hour and get a temperature gun and check the temperature inside the tub right above where the heat mat was sitting. If the heat gun is showing 90 degrees, then you're done. But most of us are not gonna be that lucky. So if the temperature gun is showing, say, 88 degrees, then you're gonna have to bump up the temperature controller by 2 degrees. If the temperature gun is showing 92 degrees, then you're gonna drop the temperature on your controller by 2 degrees. Slide the tub back in, wait about an hour, come back and check with the temperature gun again. Usually in about 1 or 2 iterations, you'll have the temperature spot on. And the reason I like this approach is, number one, the animal doesn't have access to the probe and can't knock it loose. Number two, the probe is directly attached to the heating element, so it's gonna get a really accurate reading. And number three, you're using the temperature controller for its consistency, its ability to hold the heat at a certain temperature. And the degree of temperature is based on the accuracy of the temperature gun. So now you have 2 points of data that you can use to cross-check. So I hope my answers are helpful and useful, and that's the end of question session. But keep those comments and questions coming. I love talking to you guys and interacting with you, and I'll try to help as much as I can, any way I can. All right, now let's get back to looking at some animals. The 4 that I have in mind to show you are actually the 4 that are in the intro. It's hard to imagine that those 4 were once 300 grams and now they're at adult size. So let's take a look. This right here is my fire pied. I figure I show off these animals in the same order as they're featured in the intro. I got it from Breeder Circle and I'm extremely happy with her. She's a great feeder and she's not shy at all. Some people may dislike fire with pieds because fire tends to reduce the pattern, but that's certainly not the case here. I think she's got the perfect amount of pattern to the white and she is extremely bright as well. Moving on to the next animal, and this is a blade clown from Kyle Frost. She made a mess in her tub. It's like they always make a mess the day after you clean them. But no matter, she is a gorgeous animal. Like I said, a blade clown. She looks like a super blade, but she was sold to me as a single dose of blade. It's kind of hard to believe, but I want to work with this line of blade and see what it's all about. And that's why I haven't purchased any other animals with blade except from Kyle. So this next one is a Enchi blade het clown, and since she has blade, you probably already know who I got this from. Again, it's from Kyle Frost. Beautiful animal. Look at how reduced that pattern is. Enchi reduces the pattern, produces banding. Blade reduces the pattern even more, and you get this beautiful animal. Just look at the eye stripe and how thick they are. Those eye bands are really thick and intense. All her oranges are really intense. So this next one is the only male of the bunch, and I got him from Justin Kabelka, and you know he produces a lot of unique animals. I got him probably over a year ago, and at that time, I guess some people were considering the blackhead to be a sleeper gene, but not so much anymore. This boy is a blackhead Mojave 100% het for pied, and he happens to be in shed. And he is a beast when it comes to eating and breeding. He's already done his job for me. I got a clutch from him and now he is ready to go work for somebody else. The tones of his colors are very pleasing. I mean, he's just a beautiful specimen. Man, I really hope those 3 females breed for me this season. That's gonna really amp up my clown project as well as my pied project. That blackhead Mojave het pied male has already done his job this season. He's actually got a clutch that's gonna pip in just 2 weeks, so you can be sure I'm gonna give you an update on that. As I said in the beginning of this video, I will be showing you a sneak peek at my koi pond as it is right now. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. I do post videos on a weekly basis, and on certain weeks I post twice a week. So if you're new to this channel and you want to be informed of future uploads, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. As always, thanks for watching, please share, and I'll see you guys next time.